the mortgage do's and don'ts. We want to talk about those today because getting a mortgage does not have to be stressful. And the way that you add stress to your home loan transaction is by not taking the advice on these do's and don'ts list. Let's start with the positives. The do's when you're getting a home loan. Now, this process can be as easy and stress-free as we can make it with your help and cooperation. But when you do things that are against these do's and don'ts that I'm going to talk about today, it can make your life so much more stressful. First things first, know that time is of the essence. So don't wait to the last minute, right? So that's definitely something you want to just keep in mind as we work through this list of do's and don'ts. The first do is to keep an ongoing paper trail. Anything that gets deposited into your bank account has to be tracked and sourced. So if it's your automatic deposit of your paycheck, that's easy to prove. However, if it's something that you've sold, we have to paper trail it. Copy of the title, front and the back, signed by the buyer, signed by you. Copy the cashier's check that they did when they bought that car or boat or whatever it was from you. There's certain ways that you have to paper trail things, and if you don't discuss it with your loan officer first, it is a lot harder to put out that forest fire than it is to prevent it in the first place. So let's talk about it before you make a big move. Also, things like tax documentations, W-2s, pay stubs, keep a track of those things and don't toss them. Make sure you know where they are, where you can download them in case you need more throughout the process. The second thing is provide earnest money receipts. When you go to buy a home, you're expected to give a deposit. That could be $500, that could be 1%, 2%, or more, depending on the price of your home, how high in demand housing is at that time. So your earnest money deposit, your money that you're putting as good faith money to hold that house off the market, has to be sourced through your bank account. And if it's a gift, we need to know about it before you start transacting that money too, because any gift money that comes into your bank account or gets paid on your behalf, we have to track it all. We have to paper trail it all. So the moral to this story is before you start moving money around or accepting gifts from other people to help you with your home loan transaction, we need to talk. We need to plan ahead because it's easier to prevent the forest fires than it is to put them out. The third thing to do is maintain your employment and income. Now, I will never ever tell a client you cannot go get a new job during a mortgage transaction. However, I will tell you that it complicates things. It could add time to closing. It could prevent you from closing depending on how your job is changing, if your income is changing, how you get paid from a salary to a commission, etc. So I would highly encourage you that before you run out and change jobs in the middle of your mortgage transaction to talk to your loan officer, because sometimes it's not a big deal, but sometimes it is a deal killer. So you want to make sure when you're changing jobs, it's not going to hurt your transaction if you want to keep on that house purchase transaction. And of course, income is a really big deal too. So if you go from working 40 hours solid per week down to 28 during the process per week, you definitely need to have a conversation because this could also completely derail your ability to close on your new home. So keeping your hours up, not taking a lot of unpaid days off during your transaction is also critical. And if you're planning ahead, keep in mind that we have to average your income out. So if you're taking a lot of days here and there, we can't give you credit for it because you're not getting paid for it. The fourth thing is to create a savings plan. Remember, you have a down payment potentially. You have earnest money that you have to put down. You have inspections and appraisals and things like that before you even get to closing. So knowing exactly what to plan ahead for is one of the reasons why you talk to a loan officer before you run out to buy a house. Understanding your credit pull. We are only at Wallach & Volk pulling your credit one time, and that is your hard pull once we've discussed us to do that for you. We always start with a soft pull to begin with, but once we're ready to pull the hard pull, you and I talk and you know it's happening. We generally do not re-pull credit at all. Our credit report's good for 120 days. However, if something changes and it requires us to re-pull because we've talked about it, be aware that a second credit pull could be done. And with some companies, they actually require a hard pull right before you close. So make sure you ask the question, is credit going to be re-pulled again at the end? Also note that we are checking, even though we at my company are not re-pulling credit, we are checking to see, do you have any new inquiries? Did you open any new loans during the process? So please don't do that. That is a very big no-no. Do not do that. Okay. And the last do is, of course, ask questions and communicate. It's very, very important that you ask questions. It's important for us to address these things before they become a problem. So ask all the questions you possibly can think of before we have issues that we have to solve later together. Now on to the don'ts. Do not do these things when you're trying to buy a house. First things first is close or open bank accounts. When you start moving money all around the place like this, when you're closing accounts here and opening bank accounts here, it wreaks absolute havoc on documentation. It makes your job in supplying the information to me that much more difficult for you. So in the essence of saving you stress and time, do not switch bank accounts when you're in the middle of a mortgage process. Even if it's right before you think you're going to start for looking for a home and doing a home loan, it can cause a problem because we have to have 2 months of bank statements generally. So keep that in mind because it really does wreak havoc for you. The second do not do is make large deposits. Keep in mind that everything has to be sourced and trailed. So if you're making $5,000 deposits and $6,000 deposits and things like that, it could cause a problem with you getting approved for your mortgage loan because we have to track and trace everything. Now, you might be noticing a theme because we talk about jobs a lot on the do's and the don'ts because job history and income and earnings have a lot to do with your ability to repay, which we have to prove when you're doing a home loan. So not changing jobs, employers, or employment is really, really, really critical to making sure that if you are going to do it, that we discuss it before you give notice, before you change, before you accept anything. So again, I'm not going to sit here and tell you can't get a new job, especially if a much better opportunity is coming your way. It may be a matter of timing. So again, talk to your loan officer about it before you do any sort of major life-changing, altering things that could occur and could put a wrench in your buying a house. Now, of course, another don't is do not make major purchases. No refrigerators, no cars, no boats, no furniture. You don't have the keys yet. Let's not fill up the house with stuff yet. We're not quite ready for that, right? So until your loan has funded and we are handing you your keys, do not go buy anything. Remember, if you go to the furniture store and you give them your social security number, they're pulling credit. So don't do that either. Just steer clear. I promise you they're having a sale right around the corner. I promise. There's sales all the time. The next is do not open a new line of credit. So that could be for co-signing for someone. That could be for making a major purchase, as I mentioned earlier. And that also means no closing accounts either. So don't run off and close a credit card. Don't run off and close an account just because you're not using it anymore. Now is not the time to make these sort of changes to your finances. And the last don't is don't panic, don't stress out, and don't isolate yourself. We're all here to help you with this transaction. We're trying to make this less stress on you, not more. So please, please, please ask questions, trust the process, and you've chosen the right team if you've chosen Let's Talk Mortgage Pro. But please, please, please ask questions and make it a wonderful closing on your new home. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe, share, and comment.